said by people who want to argue we need to, get rid of all these immigrants. They say, well, it's destroying our culture here in America, right? It's destroying our culture. It will make America unrecognizable. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you cared about protecting the culture of America. If you were to protect things that matter in America, then stop the exploitation and extraction of everything by the ruling rich ass bags. Okay, how about that? If you want to protect the culture, if you want to protect the civilization, if you want to protect the society, if you want to protect the things that we love, if there's much to love about the United States left, then wouldn't you want I mean, the ruling elite, the rich, the top of the corporate parasites, they destroy lives, they destroy the land, they destroy your free time, they destroy your work time, they destroy everything about our lives. They extract and extract and extract, and yet I don't see anyone calling to deport Jamie Dimon and Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Larry Ellison, Tim Cook, the remaining fucking leeching half of the Koch brothers. Deport them if you want to save this fucking country. All right? That should be step one. That's step one. I'm sorry, but seriously, is the guy running the leaf blower outside, is he the one destroying your life, destroying the culture? Yeah? Is it? I know you may be thinking, well, Lee, that's a stereotype to say that an undocumented immigrant is doing the lawn maintenance. Yeah, but it's also statistically accurate, so there's that. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with lawn maintenance, but you don't often see an undocumented immigrant doing your taxes or working as your real estate agent or in charge of your surgical procedure. And I don't mean that they aren't smart enough to do those things. I mean that our system won't let them do those things. So they're not allowed to progress in our society to those types of jobs, are they? So it's not their fault. It's our system's fault. But yes, the guy running the leaf blower is just destroying our culture. He's ruining everything. No, this is called misdirected anger, is what most of anti-immigrant racist policies are. It's misdirected anger. The anger should be at those who have destroyed this nation, who have taken away your freedoms, who have taken away your rights, who have taken away your ability to actually make a living with a regular amount of time at work rather than working 3 jobs. They've destroyed everything about a comfortable, secure life. And then you turn around and we're told, well, point at the people with the different skin color who are taking the unpaid jobs or barely paid jobs. That's the real harm. I mean, people they say, oh, well, if you let immigrants in, America will be unrecognizable. It's already unrecognizable. America is already unrecognizable. They've already gutted everything that used to be even remotely nice about the United States. And that wasn't gutted by the immigrants. It was gutted by the rich and the ruling elite and those who are extracting every bit of your life force. That's, and so now what I recognize about America is shit. So I don't know. The whole, oh, well, don't let in an immigrant. It'll be unrecognizable. Yeah, great argument.
I want to get back to the point. Our David Culver is on the other side of the border. He's on the Mexican side of the border. And again, people have strongly held political views about this, and that's absolutely their right. I think that what gets lost sometimes is the humanity, whatever your politics. Listen to just what David encountered.
Humanity, really? Just a moment ago, you were asking us to send more money to the jackboots on the border. But here, now, let's think about the humanity. Let's think about the humanity while we continue to sanction. And I repeat this often, but I think it bears repeating that sanctions are economic war. They destroy lives, okay? It's not... It's stopping medication from getting to children is a lot of what sanctions are. Yet He doesn't seem to be talking about that, does he? The humanity of those killed and murdered and destroyed by our sanctions around over in Latin America, but around the world. All right, I should get on to the next clip, or I'm going to run out of time here. But the Friday live stream in which we get to watch the mainstream media together and tear apart all of their garbage, because I feel like you have to do it with a friend, right? You need someone there with you to hold your hand and say, it's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. I do too. So I'm glad you're here with me. I'm glad you're here with me to do this together. It's like walking into the fucking swamp together. Just come on, hold my hand, and we'll have each other's backs. But yes, this is the one each Friday. I show clips from mainstream media. They are not they are not crazy clips that I found. This is just straight up hit record and let's see what we get. And it shows how all of mainstream media is garbage. I feel like it's very easy, and I do plenty of it, to just find the clip that's craziest from CNN of that week or Meet the Press or whatever and say, look at this fucking madness. And yes, I do that a lot, and many other people do too. But there's something beyond that, which is just anytime you turn it on, it's garbage. It's utter garbage of a variety of types. Sometimes it's meaningless garbage. Sometimes it's full-on propaganda. But Fridays is where I do this with you. We watch it a little bit together, and we comment and we go through it. Also, towards the end of these live streams on Fridays, I will be answering questions from those of you at leecamp.net, which is my locals page, the members at leecamp.net. So thank you guys especially for joining me. You are what makes all of this possible, considering I am the most censored comedian in America. Lost my TV show, lost my main YouTube page, lost 2,000 videos, lost my podcast, but now I'm making a comeback thanks to you. A little bit of a comeback, but thanks for being there, being here and joining me. But yeah, so let's get into it. Throw your comments in there. I posed a question for everybody in the comment threads. Are we seeing, because this is the first topic we're going to see in our mainstream media clips, are we seeing an immigration crisis, the likes of which the world has never seen before? Are we? Because I want to hear your take on that, because we're not just getting that from the Fox News is out there. It's coming from really all angles. It's an immigration crisis. So let's see a little CNN. Let's start off with CNN. And so a little bit of background is that Title 42 is ending, or ended today, I guess. Now, what they seem to fail to mention in most of these reports is that Title 42 was completely horrific, racist, immoral, unethical, and many say illegal effort put forward by the Trump administration initially and they did it, to ban anyone from entering the country immediately. Now, countries are, by the Geneva Conventions, you're supposed to at least consider taking in asylum seekers, those who are fleeing a horrible situation in their home country. But Trump and many in the establishment said, we don't have to even consider them for asylum because there's a pandemic. And there's a pandemic, you can just say, hey, we hear things are really tough for you. You standing there with your baby in your arms who's just fled violence and been working, marching through a desert for 2 days to try and get here. It just occurred to us. We have this thing called Title 42, and it says, go fuck yourself. So Donald Trump puts this into place. But here's the thing. You can't sit there and be one of these lovely liberals, one of these lovely Democrats who say, Trump is horrible and he hates these people and what an asshole, because Joe Biden and the Biden administration have kept Title 42 in place until today. 2 years of not even considering asylum seekers. So don't say that this is just a Trump thing. But anyway, let's watch a few minutes of CNN. And I want to reiterate this. I'm not saying that this is the worst of CNN. This is horrific. Let's see this horrible clip. I'm saying let's just flip on CNN and see what we get. See what comes across.
Immigration officials are prepared for this so-called surge and an increase in influx of migration, but they're just not seeing it today. We saw a makeshift tent for processing as well as several immigration buses, but so far today, it's really not the spike that everyone had anticipated. John?
Nick Valencia, live for us on the ground. Important reporting, Nick. We know you'll keep an eye on it in the days ahead as we too. Let's get some important insights on this moment. Caitlin Dickerson of The Atlantic joins us. She just won a Pulitzer Prize for her reporting on immigration. Caitlin, thank you for your time. Congratulations.
Let's make sure and let you all know that this person who works for The Atlantic, which is largely a propaganda outlet, just won a Pulitzer Prize, which is a propaganda prize. So let's make sure and tell you that. As Chris Hedges told me and has said before, even though he won a Pulitzer Prize with the New York Times, the Pulitzer Prize is a rigged competition given to those at the propaganda outlets, sometimes for actually doing some legitimate good work. As hopefully, I don't know which report he won it for, but largely it's just given to the propaganda outlets, the New York Times, Washington Post, etc., for doing the best propaganda for the ruling elite. But we're gonna pause and say, you just won a Pulitzer Prize, don't you matter? Aren't you really important?
Congratulations. What you just heard from Nick Valencia. A lot of people were saying today was going to be a whole lot worse than yesterday. He says today is not. I've seen things you've said and written. That does not surprise you. That in Washington, people say surge, surge, surge. But your point is this is actually pretty constant and it ebbs and flows.
That's right. As somebody who's been covering immigration for years, John, a lot of times my job is to put people's feet back on the ground because about once a year, the country gets really whipped up in a tizzy about a border surge. And then when,
I wonder why that is, that once a year the country gets whipped up into a tizzy because of a border surge. Could it be fucking networks like CNN? Could that be it? Could it be legitimately like the reports that you're doing right now, whipping everyone into a tizzy over immigration crisis? Now, yes, CNN does far less of that than Fox News, but it still does it. There's still plenty of coverage of immigration, plenty of politicians on CNN saying, oh my God, immigration is going to destroy your lives. That's the real harm in this world. That's the thing that's really upsetting is there are immigrants here. It's not the fact that we stole your health care, destroy your lives, stole your pension, destroy your jobs, destroy your infrastructure, poisoned your kids. None of that. It's the immigrants. So I love that she's on this network that does that. I mean, they did a town hall with Trump. What was it, yesterday, the day before? So this is a network that platforms the worst hatred of immigrants at times. And, they may push back a little, but it's still within the allowable discussions that CNN will air is a bunch of anti-immigrant garbage. That still fits within their purview. So again, not as bad as Fox News on the anti-immigrant xenophobic shitstorm, but still up there. They're still on the list, They're still making the playoffs for the xenophobic anti-immigrant hatred.
The world doesn't come to an end as expected. People move on and forget about the border until the next surge, so to speak. I think that really distracts us from a much more important conversation that needs to be had about our broken immigration system. So Title 42 is yet another Band-Aid that the Trump administration put into place.
So I'm not saying she's never been critical of Title 42 in other ways, but in this moment, she's calling it a Band-Aid. A Band-Aid is an expression used for something that is positive, right? Better to have a Band-Aid than not have a Band-Aid, but it's too little, right? That's what the expression means. It's okay. It's something, but it's too little. Title 42 is an immoral piece of shit from sacks of shit. I'm sorry to not have my thesaurus open, but that's what it is. Title 42 it says, hey, we're not even going to consider whether you have a justifiable need for asylum, whether you and your children and your family members, whoever came with you, is really in fear for their lives. We're not even going to think about it. We're just going to turn you around immediately. So is that not immoral? Is that not a piece of shit like thing to put into the law? So she's calling it a Band-Aid. Yeah, if Band-Aids were racist, maybe. Actually, Band-Aids were kind of racist, right? Until recently, because they only had the like flesh-colored ones. Now there's an assortment where you can actually get a Band-Aid that has like some black skin color to it. But until recently, Band-Aids actually were racist. So maybe that's what she means. Maybe she's like, it's just a Band-Aid. And that Band-Aids are kind of racist. Apparently, only people with white flesh actually cut and injure themselves until recently. Anyway.
It was a pretextual policy, initially had nothing to do with the COVID pandemic. I wrote a front page story for the New York Times detailing.
She also has failed to mention that I mean, it's obvious because they're talking about this ending now, but is that Biden kept this going for 2 years. So if you, again, and I realize I already said that, but if you want to say this is just a Donald Trump, oh, what an asshole Donald Trump situation, then why did Biden keep going for 2 years? Maybe because these two parties are the fucking same. Maybe that can be said, but no, that can't be said on CNN. CNN is meant for this kind of garbage and to make you think again that there are real differences between these two parties that are two cheeks of the same backside, as George Galloway says. That is what CNN stands for. I see a couple of you have asked where Eleanor is. Eleanor, we're in the middle of a big move. A lot's going on, and she will be rejoining the Friday or Saturday live streams hopefully soon. But yeah, it's just been it's been a pain in the ass and all this moving and everything. And so I and we are going to get things nailed down soon, and it won't be so weird. And hopefully I won't be. Which reminds me, thank you for reminding me. For some reason, I cannot remember to say this. There's no live stream tomorrow because, again, the whole moving process. And so, yeah, normally I have a Saturday live stream. So no live stream Saturday. However, as many of you know, there are tons of clips, many of which I'm sure you haven't seen at either rumble.com/leecamp or youtube.com/moment of clarity. Just hit the videos tab and you can see all these various topics that you probably haven't seen. Many of them that from my previous live stream. So if you need content and you're upset there's no live stream tomorrow, there's plenty of content for you. But yes, no live stream tomorrow. Sorry, I keep forgetting to say that.
Handling the history of that policy, but it was really an attempt to crack down on asylum. And so what did you see under Title 42? You saw illegal crossings, which had been previously low, start to rise because.
And here's another fact that needs to be discussed here. CNN, and I'm glad they are, wants you to feel for these people to some degree, right? They just showed someone walking through a river holding their baby, clearly 1 or 2 months old, in the air to try and get across this river, to try and get to a life that is not fucking awful. And CNN wants you to care to some degree for these people. Later in this clip, which if we have time, I'll play that as well. They even interview a few of them, and they want you to feel for these humans who are trying to survive. Yet, CNN is not, throughout any of that, going to discuss the U.S. sanctions that actually helped make these people's lives hell. They're not going to show similar images of the babies we've killed in Syria and Afghanistan and Iraq and Iran via sanctions and Venezuela They're not going to show those who are harmed by our policies around the world right now, today, even though these people are harmed by this, trying to get into the United States, are harmed by our policies. But CNN doesn't tell you that aspect. And if you're the average American and you believe this goddamn garbage, you believe this propaganda, and you only get your information from these mainstream media, then you go, oh my God, that baby, that person's trying to get a baby across a river. How disgusting is that? That we should let them in. We should let them have a better life here, because it's just awful to see that. And yet, CNN's not going to tell you that many of them are in this situation because of U.S. sanctions and other U.S. policies against these countries. Many of these countries where these people come from, trying to get across the border, the U.S. might not have cooed their government recently. You know, what have you cooed for me recently? But we cooed them in the past. We destroyed their country in the past, and they're still recovering from it. Like, there's countries like Chile or Guatemala or Honduras that, things might have gotten better, but when we took out their democratically elected leader and threw them into either utter instability or perhaps stability under a horrific dictator, many of them are still recovering. And so it's like, you might go, well, it's been 15 years or so since we cooed Honduras. And it's like, but they're still dealing with the shitstorm, the aftermath, man. So again, none of this can be told to you from CNN. CNN is television for goldfish, all right? It's television for people with a memory of roughly 30 seconds. If you think everything started yesterday, all of history started yesterday, then CNN is the right place for you. That is the right place for you. And again, on this issue, they're less bad than Fox News. I mean, these are the two sides you have to choose from. The super city, super racist, super horrific on one side, and then the other side, Fox News. It just gets worse. Really, do you want to walk into the fire or the kiln?
These Band-Aid policies, including, I would argue, those that the Biden administration has put forth to replace Title 42, they really are no match for the much more powerful macro forces, both those that push people.
Oh, interesting. Macro forces. Wow, that is a really great thing that she's bringing up. The macro forces that push people to come, no matter how much harm is done to them, to try and come to the United States. What are those macro forces? Could some of them be our sanctions? Is she going to mention that? No. Could some of it be gut-wrenching, horrific capitalism? No. Is she going to mention that? No. So even when you have, this is such an important point about the way our media works. Even when you have someone speaking about these deeper issues, the macro forces, she just said, the issues that are largely not talked about by these reports, even when you have someone doing it like she is right there, they're still going to leave out the key words that would get them banned, or even if not banned, would be make them less likely to be invited back to CNN or MSNBC or whatever. So this is about the closest you'll get to a real discussion of this issue is this woman who writes for The Atlantic saying, hey, let's think about the macro issues. Yeah, that'd be great. Can you say the C word? Can you say that dirty, dirty C word that's not allowed on television? You know what I'm talking about. Capitalism. No. Can't say it.
To the United States. So violent conflict, as you mentioned, profound hunger and instability, but also
violent, whatever she called it, violence in their countries, instability, terrible hunger. Is any of that done caused by the United States? Does the United States play any role in that? No, I guess she's not going to tell us. So if I'm your average American viewer, I just walk away going, God, that is so terrible. Down there in Latin America, they have hunger, they have instability, they have violence. Thank goodness we live here in the US of A, and we don't play any role in any of that. Thank goodness we are not a culprit for any of that goes on in the dirty Latin America.
Just as importantly, on our side of the border, the macro forces drawing people here, which is a massive labor shortage. And that, I feel like, is a much more important focus than day to day.
And more importantly, the labor shortage, it's a certain kind of labor, right? It is rather unpaid, often under minimum wage, even though minimum wage is horrific in the United States. It is a certain kind of labor shortage in which, in our unfettered, gut-wrenching, murder your neighbor form of capitalism, all these companies, all these corporations need workers that will work for tiny amounts of money because the corporations don't want to pay a legitimate wage, right? So they want to find people that will work for even less than in the United States than the minimum wage. So let's see if we can find someone that'll till the fields for $2 an hour. Let's see if we can do that. So they're looking for people to pillage, and that's how you end up in this situation.
Border numbers.
And yet, you're well aware of the dysfunctional politics dating back not just in recent years, but you could go back 10 years, 20 years, 25 years or more to this issue being dealt with in an adult way, if you will. You mentioned the Band-Aid, including you.
John King talking about dealing with issues in an adult way. This man has never dealt with anything in an adult way. This man is one of the top propagandists for one of the top propaganda outlets. Couldn't dig deeper on an issue if he had a giant shovel. And he's talking about dealing with things in an adult way. Go fuck yourself and your perfect haircut, John King. Dealing with things in an adult way. You got to be kidding me.
You talk about the Trump administration, you talk about the Biden administration tools. Now, I want you to listen to Secretary Mayorkas. He says, number one, the administration is taking important new steps. And number two, he's trying to send a message. Listen.
Do not believe the lies of smugglers. People who do not use available legal pathways to enter the U.S. now face
Damn it, I said all of that while muted. Sorry about that. What I was saying is first of all, this guy looks terrified. I don't know what gun they have pointed at him to force him to say this statement. But besides that, it looks like a penis being strangled. And I feel like if you want people to take you seriously on immigration, you cannot. It's really rule number one is you can't look like a strangled penis. I just feel they teach you that if you take public speaking. Anybody who's been to a public speaking class, that's rule number one.
face tougher consequences, including a minimum 5-year ban on re-entry and potential criminal prosecution.
I fully accept your point about their limited tools available to them because of the lack of cooperation with Congress and so forth and so on. But they say they're prepared for this. Based on your reporting, are they? Do they have the necessary tools?
I love These people want you to believe both. They want you a little bit to believe that we should feel for these immigrants. I mean, they showed an image of someone holding up a baby over their head to try and get across a river. So on one hand, CNN's like, you should really feel for these people and care about them. On the other hand, he just asked her, do you think our fucking fascists with guns who arrest and detain these people and often send them back to horrific situations in their home countries, do they have the tools they need? Do they have enough guns? Do they have enough zip ties? Or do they have enough steroidal men with roid rage issues? Do we have enough of that going on down there? Can you tell me, journalist, whether these border patrol fascists have, whether the brown shirts have enough the tools at their disposal to deal with the number of babies that are being brought over people's heads in the river? Do they have like tennis rackets or something in case the people throw the babies to the other side of the river? Can they swat it back? Is there some sort of baby swatting device? Have we distributed enough baby swatting devices to stop people hurling their babies over the fence? Can you tell me that? Also, we should feel bad for these people. I don't think you can have it both ways, asshole. I don't think you can have it both ways. But they want to. They want you to believe both. We should feel for these people, and we should kick them out as effectively as possible.
I think the Border Patrol will be able to handle this, John, because the reality is that.
And somehow she then just goes straight into like, oh, these are wonderful. The Border Patrol is just wonderful. They're doing such good work down there. It's like, what the fuck? You were supposed to be the liberal who comes on to say that these immigrants have a tough life. And now she's like, these Border Patrol are doing great. You should see how effectively they can beat down an immigrant. It really is. I've seen it in person. It's just beautiful. The amount of training, you have to have a strong wrist. It's all in the wrist to effectively beat an immigrant, asylum-seeking immigrant. Those are often harder to beat because they have more to lose.
Since 2014, when the Border Patrol saw its first major surge of unaccompanied children crossing the border alone, that agency has been used to it. As I mentioned, in the cycle, at least.
They're used to being, yes, much like the Nazis were used to abusing people and killing people. Yeah, they're used to it. Oh, okay, good. Well, that's good to hear. That's what I was worried. Are our fascists at the border? Are they accustomed to it enough? Abusing people? Are they used to it? Again, do they have enough wrist strength for the beatings?
At least once a year, processing far more people than they really feel equipped. And
processing. That's the euphemism for destroying lives, beating people, and arresting them. Processing. It's fucking processing.
So in a way, the agency is used to being overwhelmed at this point.
Okay, used to being overwhelmed. Oh, so now it's so now we're on the fascist side of things. Boy, I love how quickly CNN can pivot. Which side are you on? The side of the people carrying the babies over their heads, or the side of the fascists? Well, for 30 seconds, we're on the side of the babies. Next, we'll go over to the side of the fascists. We do a little each. Another question, which is, or not question, but it's a comment that's often said by people who want to argue we need to, get rid of all these immigrants. They say, well, it's destroying our culture here in America, right? It's destroying our culture. It will make America unrecognizable. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you cared about protecting the culture of America. If you want to protect things that matter in America, then stop the exploitation and extraction of everything by the ruling rich ass bags. Okay, how about that? If you want to protect the culture, if you want to protect the civilization, if you want to protect the society, if you want to protect the things that we love, if there's much to love about the United States left, then wouldn't you want to I mean, the ruling elite, the rich, the top of the corporate parasites, they destroy lives. They destroy the land. They destroy your free time. They destroy your work time. They destroy everything about our lives. They extract and extract and extract. And yet I don't see anyone calling to deport Jamie Dimon and Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Larry Ellison, Tim Cook, the remaining fucking leeching half of the Koch brothers. Deport them if you want to save this fucking country. All right? That should be step one. That's step one. I'm sorry, but seriously, is the guy running the leaf blower outside, is he the one destroying your life, destroying the culture? Yeah, is it? I know you may be thinking, well, Lee, that's a stereotype to say that an undocumented immigrant is doing the lawn maintenance. Yeah, but it's also statistically accurate, so there's that. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with lawn maintenance, but you don't often see an undocumented immigrant doing your taxes or working on as your real estate agent or in charge of your surgical procedure. And I don't mean that they aren't smart enough to do those things. I mean that our system won't let them do those things. So they're not allowed to progress in our society to those types of jobs, are they? So it's not their fault. It's our system's fault. But yes, the guy running the leaf blower is just destroying our culture. He's ruining everything. No, this is called misdirected anger, is what most of anti-immigrant racist policies are. It's misdirected anger. The anger should be at those who have destroyed this nation, who have taken away your freedoms, who have taken away your rights, who have taken away your ability to actually make a living with a regular amount of time at work rather than working 3 jobs. They've destroyed everything about a comfortable, secure life. And then you turn around and we're told, well, we point at the people with the different skin color who are taking the unpaid jobs or barely paid jobs. That's the real harm. I mean, people they say, oh, well, if you let immigrants in, America will be unrecognizable. It's already unrecognizable. America is already unrecognizable. They've already gutted everything that used to be even remotely nice about the United States. And that wasn't gutted by the immigrants. It was gutted by the rich and the ruling elite and those who are extracting every bit of your life force. That's, and so now what I recognize about America is shit. So I don't know. The whole, oh, well, don't let in an immigrant. It'll be unrecognizable. Yeah, great argument.
I want to get back to the point. Our David Culver is on the other side of the border. He's on the Mexican side of the border. And again, people have strongly held political views about this, and that's absolutely their right. I think that what gets lost sometimes is the humanity, whatever your politics. Listen to just what David encountered.
Humanity, really? Just a moment ago, you were asking us to send more money to the jackboots on the border. But here, now, let's think about the humanity. Let's think about the humanity while we continue to sanction. And I repeat this often, but I think it bears repeating that sanctions are economic war. They destroy lives, okay? It's not... It's stopping medication from getting to children is a lot of what sanctions are. Yet, he doesn't seem to be talking about that, does he? The humanity of those killed and murdered and destroyed by our sanctions around over in Latin America, but around the world. All right, I should get on to the next clip, or I'm going to run out of time here. But let's go to this next one. By the way, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you hit thumbs up. Make sure you share this. Make sure you leave a comment. I am asking people whether you think there's an immigration crisis. But let's see here. Please hold while I get to the next video. So this is from Fox News. And as I said at the beginning of this, I am not grabbing the craziest clips from these networks. I am just hitting record on these mainstream media networks and showing you the bullshit or the idiocy that is projected into everyone's heads all day. So that's kind of the point. It is not that I found the craziest clip from these networks, but okay, this is now Fox News, and this one is about the subway murder that just happened, where what was his name? Jordan Neely was a subway performer, was strangled to death by an ex-Marine. And so when I hit record on Fox News, they were covering what was going on in court with that ex-Marine who has now turned himself in. And this is some important, gripping footage. Do not miss what's about to be shown by Fox News.
The Manhattan courthouse. That happened, I would say, around 8:30 a.m. Eastern time this morning. We knew, of course, that second-degree manslaughter charges would be filed against him in connection with the death of Jordan Neely. It was not clear exactly.
You can already tell. Important footage being shown to you right here. This is you got the blurry back of a security guard, and then in the far distance, if you squint like this, you can see the back of the head of the guy who killed a man in a subway. So this is very important to see the back of that guy's head. I mean, this is what I tune in to, important news. This is why I tune in. This is why I turn to these channels, because many have asked. I like to get comments from you guys about what you want to see, and many of you said, please, for the love of God, show me the back of the head of the guy who killed that guy in the subway. And so, thank goodness we have Fox News to bring this to us.
Exactly when he would be arraigned, but as you can see, he is live inside the courtroom right now. They're in New York.
And now literally silence while we stare at the back of this guy's head with a blurry dude taking up half the screen. This is important stuff, people. And everything the guy has said, the Fox News reporter, the reporter's quite a stretch, but the Fox News dude has said is just standard facts about this case that you could get anywhere. So no new information, but with a visual of the distant back of the guy's head. Very important stuff coming to you from Fox News. And now silence.
And again, not sure if he will speak to the media or if we will see his attorneys address.
Silence followed by letting you know that this guy is not sure whether Penny, is that his last name, is going to speak to the press, or whether his lawyers might speak to the press. We have no idea whether there will be anything of substance in the stuff we're showing you right now, that's what I look for in a news channel. You just show me video of something meaningless while narrating it and saying, but also let me just say, I'm not sure whether anything of substance will be brought to you in the next several minutes. God, this is important coverage. And if you want a little, I've already covered this story several days ago on my live stream, but of course it's horrific. You don't need me to tell you that. This ex-Marine murdered someone on the subway, basically because the guy was having a mental health issue. Now, the guy was unarmed. From all reports that I've seen, the guy Neely, that this guy murdered, didn't harm anyone, didn't punch anyone, didn't strangle anyone, didn't stab anyone, didn't attack anyone, was just talking, and he was black, and he made people uncomfortable. So clearly the appropriate response in our country is to murder him. Absolutely. Excellent. Great idea. But all that aside, thank God we have Fox News to show the back of his head.
Reporters there once again, but we'll of course let you know, and we'll bring you any of those comments in full. We know arraignments are just kind of a first court appearance there, where he enters a plea of guilty or not guilty to the charges against him, which are second-degree manslaughter. And he could stay in custody or be released on bond. Now, what you probably noticed there.
But at least we got this blurry guy. Because the blurry guy is also important. I feel like that's telling us a lot, is the blurry head.
Before the officer did step in front of him, he is handcuffed with his hands behind his back as he is appearing before that judge inside that courtroom just hours after
he's not just describing random things he noticed. And also, as you can see here, these doors are wooden. So we've got a courtroom with wooden doors, which not all courtrooms have wooden doors there. Many of you may see that the guard standing there, he has a green hat on. Now, that could symbolize a lot of things. Most likely it symbolizes nothing. But in this case, it's possible he wore the green hat because he is a Green Bay fan, Green Bay Packers. We're not sure, but that is a possibility that's what that signifies. Also, he's blurry. We don't know if that was a choice, that he made going into work today. I'm going to be blurry, or whether he it just hit him by surprise. Oh shit, he just found himself blurry. But I'm going to keep describing all this important stuff that I see here on Fox News. Keep in mind, we are the most watched news network in America. Millions of people right now staring at this blurry head.
Himself in on that charge of second-degree manslaughter in connection with the death of Jordan Neal.
I'm skipping ahead because literally they keep
I don't want to
showing the back of this guy's head and saying absolutely nothing, because that's what your mainstream media is. Absolutely nothing. Can I just also say, think of all of the stories that could be covered right now on your mainstream media. Think of the fucking harm that's being done throughout this world by the U.S. empire, hell, by others that they could be talking about right now. Think of the harm that's being done to Americans right now. Think of the people working fucking 2 jobs with a kid who doesn't have health care and needs surgery. Think of the stories they could be bringing you right now instead of the back of this blurry head. Think of all of this stuff. How about the 2,000 cities across the country that have lead levels higher than Flint, Michigan? How about the pollution of our rivers and waters? How about the 1,000 oil spills that happen roughly across this nation every year? How about the arms and funding we're sending to Nazis in Ukraine? How about the fact the U.S. created committed an act of terrorism by blowing up the Nord Stream pipelines? How about the fact that we've seen the second and third largest banking collapses in American history over the past 2 months? How about the fact that the Pentagon leaks have shown that U.S. allies are sending or considering sending arms to Russia behind our back because U.S. power has waned because we're sociopaths and other countries have realized that? How about any of that? Could they cover any of that? How about the fact that China has taken 850 million people out of extreme poverty over the past 20 to 30 years? How about any of that? How about fucking no, just fuck all that. Blurry head, take it away. Still just a blurry head.
And it does appear, as you can see, the officers there from the court right now, an attorney have the
all right, skipping ahead because literally they just keep watching the back of this dude's head, back of dude's head, back of dude's head. Oh my God, he turned around. Holy shit. Holy shit. Now we have blurry footage of someone's knee. Oh, this is gripping important footage. Oh my God, cops. Okay. Oh my God. Oh, I just creamed my pants a little bit. There he is. There's the guy who killed the other guy. It's just the only murder in America that we now care about, and he's gone. And it's over. And that was it. And that was why we spent all this time. Let's show a replay of him walking out, and there it is. Oh my God. Oh, there it is. Oh wow. Very important news. Brought to you by Fox News. All right. This fucking. This is such garbage. Number one news channel in America, watched by millions of people every minute. They leave it on in bars and hotel lobbies and everywhere around this country because it is such important news that you need to have it just as you're walking around. You need it just playing into your head. This is what we get from our mainstream media. And hopefully, I hope you feel this is a service that I'm doing, that you're getting something out of this. I wanted to do this every Friday because I feel like it's one thing to find the craziest clip, but it's another to show how every moment you turn this garbage on, it is garbage. Every moment. Doesn't matter. Both of these happen today, and both of these are just when I hit record. Just fucking. So, I wanted you to see that. All right, I am now going to answer some questions and topics from leecamp.net, for members at leecamp.net. You can join over there. It's my locals page, and feel free to join up over there and enjoy these comments, etc. And by the way, I am going to, this is going to be just, the rest of this is going to be just for rumble.com/leecamp and leecamp.net. But for all of you, I hope, and you can watch for free at rumble.com/leecamp. So it's not, the video is not behind the paywall. The only thing you'd have to be a member for is to leave the comments and questions that I'm about to answer at leecamp.net. So join me there or join me at rumble.com/leecamp. All right, let's keep going. Hey, everybody at Locals. How you doing? Thanks for being here. Let's see. Nuck Duckler says, seriously, the concept of a labor market is so dehumanizing, and I think being mad that people are willing to work for less money than you is like a messed up protective reaction to the worth of your labor. Competitive market economics where people are a product is wildly inhumane, but here we are doing it and being xenophobic about it. Well said, Nuck Duckler. I think you nailed it. And Bulls on Parade says they totally agree. Bulls on Parade also said the illegals are taking our jobs, quote, is ridiculous, meaning that argument is ridiculous. Even if you believed that immigrants are getting good jobs, they aren't showing up to interviews with a gun demanding the job. They are freely given to them by companies that want to exploit their cheap labor. Well said. Let's see. Patchouli Diver says all the tools have badges, and Redreamer says yes, they do. All the tools. I get it. Because we were talking about the tools that the border patrols have, and he said all the tools have badges. I like it. I like it. Kooky says we are all immigrants. Also well said. Yes, we are. We are. I mean, unless you're Native American watching this, so there certainly could be a few Native Americans watching this, but if you're talking about the United States, but all the rest of us are immigrants or born from immigrants, and that is so rarely talked about. Kooky wants to deport all the rich to Epstein's Island. I feel like that's too nice, honestly. I get that there's not that hopefully there's no sex trafficked people there anymore. Hopefully, wouldn't that be sad if they just Epstein's killed, they arrest Ghislaine Maxwell, and then they just leave the sex trafficked people and the staff just stuck on Epstein's Island. They can't get off. God, I hope somebody went to help them. Nuck Duckler says our culture is destroying other cultures. That is very true as well. Never Old One says immigrants also moving because of climate change, mainly caused by developed countries. Yes, that's a great point. I failed to mention that point when I was talking about the immigration and forced migration of these folks. a lot of it does have to do with climate crisis. We already have millions of refugees due to climate crisis in this world, both internally in the United States, but also people heading to the United States. And the countries that are hit worst so far by climate crisis are those with rather not much money, those who are underdeveloped, as the euphemism is used, and those who have caused the most of the climate crisis and the emissions are the rich countries, because right, with the most industry, those exploiting the most fossil fuels. We are the ones that have caused the vast majority of the climate crisis, and then we turn around and try and stop those who are fleeing the results of our actions. Let's see what else. Hey, Toronto Lou, how you doing? Toronto Lou says, actually, I am Native American because my parents were born here. Oh, very, very cute, Toronto Lou. Toronto Lou, I don't worry about immigrants or kids taking my job. I worry about a robot or AI doing it. Yes, that's true as well. Currently reading Annie Bo says, currently reading Manufacturing Consent by Noam Chomsky, describes in incredible detail the subtle ways in which U.S. media manipulates people's opinions and what news and which people do care about. Toronto Lou says, I don't read books unless I have no other choice. Well, I don't like to hear that. I feel like book reading is important. However, I will say that now that I have a kid, it is fucking hard to find time to read a book. Kookie57 asks, Biden is going to Australia and the Prime Minister has spoken to Caroline Kennedy, who is our ambassador, about Assange. Will there finally be an agreement to free Assange? I don't have a crystal ball on that. I wish I had the answer, but I do know that every time we think that things are, every time we think that things are getting better and that there may be a shot at getting Assange out, it proves not to be true. So I do hope that the Australian Prime Minister speaking up has mattered somewhat. I was, however, furious with the idea that he said, it's all I can do. All I can do as the Australian Prime Minister is tell Biden that I think he should release Julian Assange. Oh, really? You can't threaten any of the economic deals that the U.S. has with Australia? And his answer would be no, because the U.S. is more powerful than Australia. Well, yeah, we'll fucking stand up for something for once. Huh? How about that? Bulls on Parade says, hello from Washington State. Hope everyone is getting some of that sweet, sweet global warming sunshine like we are. We're predicted to break 4 record high temperatures over the next 5 days. Those Chinese are seriously dedicated to this quote unquote hoax. It's so true, though. The Chinese and the others involved in the hoax have really, they really have heated up the planet, which is just such an effort to hoax people like that. It's just so terrible. Annie Bo says, hello from Sweden. Was recently in France. Rumble is still suspended there due to government restrictions. Yeah, someone else told me that Rumble is not allowed in France for some reason. I'm not clear on what reason they're giving, but Andy Bo answering the question, are the Swedes angry at the government moving away from neutrality and into NATO and World War III? Andy Bo says, from what I understand, more than 50% of Swedes are still against joining NATO. I thought it was lower than that. I mean, I haven't seen the recent polling, but I was under the impression that the number of Swedes that are actually against joining NATO is actually lower than 50%. But even so, the number who are actively protesting to stop NATO, I can speak from experience, is very low, because I was at 2 to 3 no to NATO. I can't remember whether it was 2 or 3. I think it was 2 no to NATO protests in Stockholm this past summer, and they had about somewhere between 50 and 100 people. So not like a massive amount of people fighting against NATO. Toronto Lou wants to know if I'm moving because of the little human. Yeah, that was a definite factor. Annie Bo, Toronto Lou says, oh, they're asking about is manufacturing consent on audiobook. I would assume it must be somewhere. I don't know. Kookie's reading JFK and the Unspeakable. That is an excellent book on the assassination of JFK, but it is horrifying. So if you if you want to learn the truth about JFK, then read that book and be horrified. Let's see what else we got. All right, I'll go back here a little bit, see if we got any others. Wrapping up in a few minutes here. Let's see. Already read that. Randolini wants to know, how do you feel about Jim Jordan wanting to defund the FBI? Doesn't he know the Bureau put Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court by not investigating? Well, that's a fair and interesting point. But Jim Jordan is a horrific piece of shit. However, even a blind squirrel finds a nut sometimes. And yeah, sure, defund the FBI, defund the CIA, defund the U.S. empire. I'm for all that. But I hate when people see like one thing that a person like Jim Jordan is doing, and then they say, "Oh, he's one of the good guys." It's like, no, he stands for one thing that you happen to agree with, and he's still a right-wing sociopath. Like, both those things can be true. It doesn't have to be one or the other. I mean, Trump said things that I agree with, like peace with North Korea. That doesn't mean Trump's a good guy. Bulls on Parade says CNN also won't point out that people are fleeing the global south due to sanctions, coups, and interference by the U.S. Exactly. All right, already read that one. Let's see. I'll read one more comment. Toronto Lou says, the moment Jesse Ventura, according to Lee, will not run. Oh, I don't think Jesse Ventura would run for president. Marianne and RFK may have signed a loyalty oath and be unable to run independent. So the DNC, I don't know about any loyalty oath, will force Biden on you. Well, it's not. I mean, whether they run independent or not, the system is set up so that there's only two parties with the machinery and the money to get ballot access. So I'm not saying don't run independent, but the odds of an independent actually achieving a win are almost nothing. Coogie says RFK even said that he watches nightly news just to see what the narrative is. All right, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. We're coming up on the end of the hour. Redreamer says, you know what I think is amusing is no one ever mentions how many U.S. citizens are leaving. Yeah, I also pointed out that you notice when when an American leaves, a U.S. citizen leaves the country, and for whatever reason, maybe they don't like the racism, maybe they want to get health care, all these, they're not called a refugee, right? They're just an expat. They're just seeing the world, because no one can be a refugee from America. We only have refugees coming here. So it's not called a refugee when you flee America, even though there's got to be, over the years, I'm sure there's been millions have fled America for one reason or another. Last comment. OTR Trucker says most states have laws that void votes for anyone who lost in a party primary. Well, yes, they have ways to void votes or just stop you from running a successful campaign. Ask the Green Party how easy it is to have a real campaign against the machinery of the two richest corporate parties. All right, folks, that's the show. Every Friday, I do the last 15 minutes with your comments. So please join me every Friday right here at, if you're commenting, you're at locals, leecamp.net. But you might also be watching at rumble.com/leecamp. Free to watch there as well. And thanks for joining me. Every Friday is the media breakdown where we watch the mainstream media together and go through the reality of it. So I hope you'll do that. No live stream tomorrow. However, I will be back Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern with another episode of live stream. And there's tons of clips and topics at youtube.com/moment of clarity. Just click videos, or rumble.com/leecamp. Just scroll down. And I hope you will check those out as well and share them and keep fighting.